Race press conference. We are pleased to be joined by our second place finisher for today's Chevrolet Indeed Duel Detroit Race 1, Ryan Hunter-Ray of Andretti Autosport. The second place finish here at Belle Isle is the best for Ryan in his previous starts here. His previous best was 6th in 2008. This is also Ryan's third podium finish of the season. And most importantly, today's podium puts you second in the points, just 3 points behind Elio Castroneves. Talk about today's race.
It was a tough one. You know, the track was constantly changing all day because it was so green to start with. The track was just, you know, it had barely any rubber down just because of the on and off rain. So as we got going, it was almost like a motocross track. Just every lap was different. There was more rubber down. The grip was changing. It would change the balance of the car, which was fun in a way to try and stay on top of it. But we lost the race in the middle stint when we went to used alternate tires. I'm not sure why, what's happening, but we're just beating up our rear tires more than some of the others. And I know other guys out there really struggled on the alternates, but man, when Conway went primary, alternate. So black, red. We went black, red, black, and we lost the race in that middle stint when he was on black. So I was catching him 2 seconds a lap there at the end. Just wasn't enough. He built up a big enough lead, and he said he was even taking care of his reds there at the end. But the Firestone reds are designed to do that. This is definitely the biggest discrepancy we've ever seen between the two. So it's tough, I'll tell you. And what a weekend for Conway to show up. That was awesome. It's good to have the best out there, though. Mike can really get it done when he's got the car, and he showed that today. So congratulations to him and the Dale Point team. Really wanted to win it for Chevy today, though. Bummed about that. Thought we had a good chance at it.
Great. We'll open it for questions, starting with Marshall in the back.
Right. It seemed like most teams were caught off guard a bit by the Reds and how quickly they degraded. What was that like for you? Did you go into the race having a feel for how long they'd last and what they deliver, or was it a bit of a surprise?
Yeah, we had a feeling from qualifying that they were going to drop off pretty quick. We had no idea what they would do after about 6 laps, though. So you don't know if they drop off and then plateau, or if it was going to fall off a cliff. And it really, what the Reds are seeming to do is, if you have a little bit of an imbalance, they're just magnifying that imbalance. So if you have a really big push or something like that, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. If you're really beating up the rears, or if you've got a really aggressively rotating car, a car that rotates aggressively mid-corner, then you're going to beat the rears up pretty quickly. So I think that's where we came up short. We were as quick as Mike on the primary, so just the difference between us in the middle stint was big enough for him to win the race.
And a quick question on those primaries. On that final stint, it looked like about the first half of your final stint, in terms of lap time, it looked like there might have been a bit of imbalance. The second half, you were definitely ripping off fast laps, but it take off when they come in. Yeah,
it took a little bit for me to get into a rhythm with them. I had to deal with. I think Jakes was behind me at the time, and I was trying to get around Bautier. I was just dealing with a lot, with some that were off sequence a little bit for me, and I think that sidetracked things a little bit. Once I got clear track, then we were off and sailing, but too little, too late. So pleased with second, and pleased with second in points, but to come up short when it was looking so promising, especially for Chevy. They put so much into this. Hopefully tomorrow we'll go out and get them. I know some things I want to do to the car for tomorrow, so I look forward to trying that morning.
We're also joined by Justin Wilson and Dale Coyne Racing, who finished third. This is Justin's second podium finish of the season, and to date he has 3 top 5 and 4 top 10 finishes, putting him 5th in the point standing. Justin, talk about today's race.
Yeah, it was pretty hectic. The initial start was interesting. I'm not sure quite what happened. There was a bit of a stack up at turn 3. I got squared up and came out on the inside. I know I was on the inside of AJ, and I was all the way up against the grass on the right, and I just saw him swerve, bounce, and flying through the air. So I just turned hard right, locked him up, and slid across the inside grass. I thought I was going to hit the wall on the outside too, because the wheels locked up going across the apex grass. But fortunately the car gripped when it landed. So I just hope he's okay. I know it's pretty rough. But as far as my race goes, from then on, we just try to pick people off and attack and get by. It all worked out to plan. Had a lot of fun out there, and the last few laps were pretty intense with Scott breathing down the neck. He was pushing hard. I didn't think I was going to hold him off, but unfortunately I had just enough. So it's great to get Dale's first 1 or 2 cars on the podium, so that's pretty neat. It's also great for Mike. I'm really pleased for him to come back. He doesn't think he was driving 5 days ago, and here he is winning the race. So I think it's been a great day.
Thanks, Justin. We'll continue with questions. Bruce.
After what you learned in today's race, what can we expect, the knowledge that you've got from the 70 laps, of how you're going to put that to use in tomorrow's race, if each one of you can answer that?
Well, you get an understanding of where the pace needs to be, what you need to do with the tires. Other than that, we have a race tomorrow, so I don't know, I'm not going to say too much with this guy in the room.
I think there's a good chance we could screw it up even more tomorrow. So.
Yeah, exactly. Just give us time. We'll definitely screw it up.
Yeah, there's things that we'll want to change to our car setup, and then try and see if there's anything we learn from the strategy. I'm not sure that there was a right thing to do. I think we'll just go and study that, and I'm sure the engineers have got a better picture than we have on how the race played out and where we were quick and where we were slow.
Larry.
Ryan, 44 when you lost the lead, was that a matter of tires? Do you think that you just couldn't quite hold on?
Yeah, he was breathing down my neck, and as the tires were going off, he was all over me. I thought I was turning some decent times at the time, and he was still under my gearbox at every corner. And when he went down to the inside, it was I could have made it really tough for him there, and I'm definitely big picture racing at that point, just because it's early in the race, and we'll still have time to go after him. I figured that we were on the reds, he was on the blacks, and he's going to have to get back on those reds at the end, at which time we'd have another shot at him, but that never came. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but it was a good clean pass by Mike. He had a good run, and man, once he got by me, he was gone. So there wasn't really much to think about it. But the whole time I was thinking I would be on the primaries at the end while he was on the reds, and that would be our time to come back.
Mark.
Justin, can you talk a bit more about just how big a result this is, for the team, and how it was achieved?
Yeah, it's, I don't know how to answer that. It's just fantastic for Dale. He put so much into this race team, and like I said, he called Mike up on Tuesday and asked him to come and drive. So, I think it's just a really cool story how he didn't think he was going to be doing anything this weekend, and here he is winning the race. And to get 2 cars on the podium is just so satisfying for everyone on the team. There's been a lot of hard work, and everyone has a lot to prove that we are capable of running at the front and trying to be more consistent, and just working on every area. So we've got a lot of good people in the team who put so many hours into this and their heart and soul. So it's down to them and everything they do that give us good cars.
And what about your drive? You must be pretty satisfied. I mean, you came from way back.
Yeah, I'm kind of sat here thinking, well, how did we get here? I remember passing some guys, I think when they were on the reds early on, and we were able to pass them and open up a nice gap. And I think it was just ahead when we put our reds on far enough that they weren't able to come back. So I'm really pleased, and just want to go back and study it and try and understand it a little bit more from what everyone else was doing around me, and see what I can learn.
We'll go with Marshall in the back, and then David, then Mike, then Mary.
It's for both you guys. Since the doubleheaders were announced, been concerns from the drivers saying, hey, 2 races in 2 days physically, is that going to be a big drain? I know you haven't had a lot of time to cool down, but what are you feeling right now? Do you think today's race will impact your physical performance tomorrow?
I mean, we all train a lot for this, and these cars are really physical on street courses, though. It's not, and anybody that's not been in one, you really can't describe it, because you don't have any power steering, you have hardly any suspension movement, and you're on city streets, pounding around with 650, 700 horsepower. It's very physical. The biggest beating you get is like, right now, later on I'll still have a headache just from the constant pounding and all your joints in the morning hurt from street circuits mostly. We could do a double at Indianapolis and be fresh as rose the next morning. But here, it's a different deal. And then we have Toronto, which is one of the more physical street circuits as well. So
Houston's no cakewalk.
yeah, that's what I hear. I've never raced there, so it's tough. It's something we're trying, but we'll see what it does.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Like Ryan says, it's not so much your muscles. You can work on that and try and recover overnight, but it's the joints, bumps and bruises. I definitely have them on my elbows now, like a little skin on the hands. But it's all the kickback. The car's fighting you the whole time. So it's not so much the weight of the steering as you turn into the corner. It's the kickback over those bumps halfway through the corner that literally rips the steering wheel through your hands. I remember sitting there and holding it, and I'm looking down, and I'm holding my hands, and the steering wheel's moving, and I can't physically grip the wheel any harder. So that's what really starts to drain you and wear you out.
Yeah, I experienced that too. I mean, the gloves were actually like sliding on my hands as the wheel's just coming. I mean, you're gripping it as hard as you can, and it's just kind of how this car is. This car does have a lot of kickback. It's been known for that, and pretty heavy steering when the track gets rubbered in.
Justin, I was going to ask, how similar in setup are you to Mike? And is there stuff that you can take today that, like for example, that will nurse your rear tyres a bit better?
Elaborate on the setup if you would.
Yeah, you want to know all the springs and the... Actually, the cars were very, very similar. I think we made a couple of small changes, just driver preference stuff. But otherwise, we came here with identical cars. I liked a slightly different feel, so I went a slightly different way. But it's within 100 pounds on the springs, and everything else identical.
Both of you, you've had a race on this track now. Did it pass the test?
It was much better passing for sure. Yeah, big difference. Big difference.
All track measure off the replay.
Absolutely, I think it was a pretty action-packed race. I'm not sure. I really can't comment it. I mean, I made 2 passes there today in the new section, so I was pretty happy with it.
I think the track did fantastic. And, considering what happened last year, it's still a rough track. It's physical, but it's a street circuit, so it's still got the same characteristics and the same feel as the old one. I like the extra straight and what that does for the track and the flow, and I think it's great.
We'll do Mary, and then we'll take our last question from Bruce.
For Ryan, it seemed like Mike Conway just really took off, and you stayed with him, but the rest of the field didn't. If you had been leading the race and Mike wasn't here, what kind of pace would you have run? Would you have been slower?
I keep saying that if Mike wasn't here,
Mike, why did you have to turn up?
Jeez, ruined the party, bro. Yeah, it would have been very similar. I mean, I think everything would have been similar. You're still pedaling as hard as you can because these guys are coming from behind. So yeah, you have to save some fuel when you can, when it's ideal to save fuel, and go like hell when you can. And we were doing a bit of both today. So I think it would have been very similar.
Bruce.
A couple of years ago, Sebastian Bourdais ran road and street courses only. With the split championships that they had in this series, do you think talk about if a guy like Mike Conway was able to put together a package where he just ran street and road courses, he could be a legitimate threat for that Mario Andretti award. Do you see that as a viable option for a guy in his situation to go out and sell a sponsor?
Possibly. I wish Mike. I wish Mike was here for all the road street circuits. Obviously, he shows every time he's in the car that he deserves it. We were teammates in 11, and yeah, absolutely. I mean, that'd be great to see. The hard part is putting a program together that's not a full program.
Yeah, I definitely think it's doable, and it comes down to, yes, sponsorship, but also talent, and Mike's got the talent to do that. He can pull it off.
Well, Justin, Ryan, thank you so much for your time today. Congratulations on the podium. Best of luck tomorrow.
Now Mike's here, we're leaving.
Now I'd like to welcome up today's race winner, Mike Conway and Dale Coyne of Dale Coyne Racing. a big day for you, second start of the season, and you walk away with the victory today. Talk about today's amazing race.
Yeah, amazing feeling. Obviously last minute it came together, but thank you to Dale for making it happen. So, and yeah, as soon as I got in the car, just seemed to feel pretty comfortable with it, with what we had, and yeah, the more laps I got, just felt pretty good. We were fast, and great to be on the front row for today, and obviously the pole tomorrow, even better. So, and yeah, just today was car was just really hooked up, and the more the track ripped up, the quicker I could go, and I was just kind of just all happening, flowing as you kind of you wish for, So, yeah, amazing, and great job by all the crew today, and yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, Prix hasn't sunk in quite yet, but maybe after the weekend, I think it probably will.
Thanks, Dale. If you could talk just about all the accomplishments with the team today. First, you start the morning off getting the team's first pole with Mike, and then you wrap up the day with 2 cars on the podium.
I wish I could say it was an average day, but it was above average, obviously. No, the guys all did a great job. I can't say that about Mike here. Come in on one weekend. We've seen it before where Penske or other people that injured drivers, they bring somebody in for 1 weekend, but nobody comes in and sticks it up on the pole, leads the most laps in the class of the field, and wins the race. And this guy just did that. So pleased with the engineering staff, the job they did. I think it shows the quality of cars we put out there, and the guys and the whole team that stops everything. It just went perfect today.
Great, thank you. We'll go with Marshall in the back and then Larry up front.
Mike, did you know how good your car was on blacks and reds? Because the sequence that you ran seemed to be the magic one, black, red. Did you know that going into the race, or did you luck into that?
No, I mean, that's what we planned to do at the start. And, at the beginning of the race, EJ was doing a similar thing, and I didn't really look too much about the guys behind me. But, yeah, it was one of the things where we found that the reds were they were good for a good few laps, but then they could drop off quite quickly. So, and with the track being quite green, that was probably going to happen. And you could see when Ryan was out there in that second stint, I was with blacks. Once I got the tyre temperature in, his reds started to go off, and then I was able to just pull away. And then I was kind of nursing the tyres a little bit towards the end. Once I knew they kind of lost their best, I was just really kind of being very careful with the rear tyres, just to conserve if there was ever a safety car that I needed to be, have some tyre left. I'd be able to do that. So that's why the gap kind of shrunk a couple of seconds a lap, just because I was just looking after the tyres and making sure I had something at the end. And then towards the end, still had a good cushion, so started to push a little bit more, but it was kind of 2-3 laps to go at that point, and you kind of know you maybe got it in the bag, but when I saw Ryan in the tyre wall there, I was like, oh no, it's going to be safety car. But I knew he had enough on the restarts if it was going to happen, and I left enough in the tyre, so it was great call from John Dick. That was his plan before we went into the race, so it was great to be able to stick to it, and great pit stops, and they were just keeping the front. The only kind of screw up was when I came out, I was going down into turn 3 on the exit bar after our first stop, and Sartre was going really slow on the left, but there was a yellow flag in turn 3, so I couldn't overtake him. I was going to just, and then Helio went flying by me, and I was like, oh come on, it's yellow, you're not going to pass. But yeah, that was the only kind of flaw that we had today. But yeah, apart from that, you don't get many weekends where it all kind of just flows together.
Larry.
Talk about what you were doing last Sunday during the Indy 500 and when you got the call to get this opportunity.
Well, yeah, we kind of, Manager Mark Wendell, he had a call from Dale and kind of spoke about possibly doing this weekend. And yeah, I watched the first 10 laps of Indy and looked good, and then I went away. I was actually in the garden helping my dad out with his vegetable garden, so it was just one of those kind of lazy Sundays really. And then I watched the last 60 laps and it was really exciting, so yeah, it's great to see all my friends out there. Down in my dad's place where he lives, so it's just right near the house, but yeah, he's quite horticultural, yeah. He was getting into it, something a little far, but he's in England again. So, yeah, just a kind of chill weekend really. And then Monday, Tuesday, kind of really got the heads up then on Tuesday lunchtime. It was all good to go. so amazing.
So one for Dale and one for Mike. Dale, you're a master of putting deals together. Why not put just a road and street course deal together with a sponsor and have him as your driver?
I mean, I heard that question before, and that is a possibility. And you know, we did that with Sebastian a couple of years ago. So it is something that we would look at and think about, and you try to do the best you can in each category if that's what you do. And obviously, this guy's got one of those left up, so we'll see what we can do going forward.
And Mike, when you think about that day in Fontana when you climbed out of AJ's car, a lot of people wondered whether we'd ever see you again in an IndyCar race, and here you are, race winner. Talk about coming full circle like that.
Yeah, no, it just kind of came to the point already at Fontana where just, you know, I was kind of wanting to call it a day really on that stuff. And I knew it would be hard to make something possible for this year. And, but, you know, managed to pick up a couple of races, obviously with Bob Grayhill, the Long Beach event. You know, that was all going really good as well until you know, we had that eligible for. But, you know, I was thinking maybe I'd pick up a few races here and there, but I wasn't really sure. And that's kind of why I committed to do the WEC Championship, and yeah, I was kind of focused on that, but obviously still, you know, love IndyCar, and I'd love to stay here, obviously. But I knew it would be difficult, but yeah, no, it's great to have the opportunity to get back in and make the most of it, I think. So yeah, hopefully we can do some more.
Mike, can you discuss the start? We were lining up second, I think, went around the outside of Miso into turn one. Kind of what was the anticipation, knowing since it is that curve going into the front straight there?
Yeah, I really wanted to get ahead of EJ because you know, I thought if I could keep him in between me and Ryan, you know, I'd be able to get a good cushion there and try and pull away. But yeah, just kind of timed it right on the first one, and it was harder to do as the race went on. Me being on the outside, I kept getting caught on all the marbles, and it was just really hard to get traction. So I couldn't do it again to Ryan to try and jump in. But you know, you start pretty early as soon as you come out of that corner there. You've got the restart cones where you're allowed to accelerate, and yeah, it's tricky. But yeah, it did make it harder in the end there when there was more marbles out there. But you know, that's what happens. And but yeah, they were fun. All the restarts were good, and got to do this all again tomorrow.
We'll go Mike, then Joe, then Larry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, can you do it again tomorrow? You're dominant over like nearly 13-second or 14-second victory. I mean, can you do it again tomorrow for the pole?
I think so. I mean, you know, we definitely got the pace to pull away. You know, I think we definitely got the car, we definitely got the crew to do it, and we're starting in the best possible position. So I think regardless of what weather does, you know, the car will be good. So just a case of, you know, just focus on what we have to do. And obviously 70 laps is a long race, anything can happen, and just got to keep fighting and keeping out front.
And just a reminder, Sonex does have the perfect finish award this weekend for a driver if they sweep the doubleheaders, a $50,000 bonus.
Sweet. Trying for that one.
You can buy a new suit.
I'll get my name stitched on it.
Dale, your first two wins came after the first one after a long time of trying. The second one was kind of a surprise there in Texas. How were your emotions through the day after winning pole and kind of seeing how this race developed?
A little mixed in the very beginning. I wasn't sure how it was all going to play out. I knew what we had here. You know, you still got to get, you know, through the pit stops properly and the yellows timing, and you know, we saw somebody came in lap 18 and all those yellows happen, so that guy can leapfrog us if he plays it right. So there's all the strategy things that happen in a race that make, you know, you're never sure until the very end. And obviously when you had the big gap and then went to the red tires, that was a pretty good situation because we knew the reds were not the tire of choice for many people. And they had the gap, but then something can happen. You can have a 19-second gap like you had, and you get yellow, and now it's a whole new war. So it was up and down really, and then watching Justin come through the field and be able to get up to third. You know, I knew that our cars were pretty good, but there's still, like I said, the race has a million things that can happen. You know, mechanical failure, or could have rained with 2 laps to go. Lots of things could have changed the mix today. So it wasn't until the end that you realized what you accomplished.
We'll go Larry and then Mark.
Explain why road and street courses suit you so well, and why you're uncomfortable on ovals, and is there any turn back? Are you done with ovals for good?
Yeah, no, as I said, very interesting to get back on ovals. I suppose all my background has always been in Europe, has been you know, normal tracks, and I don't know, just seemed to gel with the way the circuits are. I don't know, you've got to be quite aggressive, I think, and really get the most out of the car. I think, I think the driver can get more out of it maybe, and not rely too heavily on setups. But the car has been great from the outset this weekend. So maybe thank you to the engineering staff and Justin for developing a great car.
A question for Dale. I think today was another day of David slaying Goliath. Your team's been really strong this year, and Indy had the fastest race lap, and Wilson may have won that race if it hadn't gone yellow. And today you dominated. I mean, what's the secret?
I think we just
British drivers.
British drivers. That's a compliment. I'll take that. I just think it's just common sense and years of knowledge on everybody's part. I think our two engineers and myself have been doing this a long time, and you know not to out-trick yourself. You remember things from the past that worked. Think outside the box, and I think with all that, and we had a pretty aggressive engineering plan over the winter. I think we put all those things together, and it's paid off well.
Any other questions? Well, we'll go ahead and wrap things up. Congratulations, Mike. Congratulations, Dale, and best of luck.